Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more NBA news and basketball news. So, in this segment here, I'll be talking about the legacy of James Harden. Now, James Harden is one of the most prolific scorers of our time and in NBA history as well, just for the simple fact of the amount of durability that he's had over his career, also compiled with his scoring ability and his creativity, all those great things that we know in the best scorers of all time. You know, those Michael Jordan types. You know, you want to go back to even Shaq in his prime, Kobe, Allen Iverson. All these great players had creativity and they had craftiness to get to, to get to the basket, to get up these jumper shots. But James Harden was a little bit unique than most of those, general scorers that we see, the typical scorers, even the Dwayne Wade, which I'll be talking about in another segment. But James Harden has that unique ability that most scorers didn't have because he was versatile. Triple double threat every game, can pass just as well as he can score and shoot. He didn't have athleticism to the point where he was some above the rim player, but he didn't need to be because he has so many other tools in his bag, and you don't need that specific one if you can shoot as well as he did, and was able to get to the basket easily the way he could. So as I said before, one of the best scorers we've ever seen, one of the best scorers I've definitely seen over the last 15 years, with the exception of Kobe, of course. And then LeBron's always a good scorer, not a shooter, but a scorer. He can put up points, put up points with anyone. But as far as having a total package, you put James Harden in that ram of the LeBron Jameses, the Russell Westbrooks, those who can compile these stats and just was stat demons. Those people that just fill up the stat sheet. They was able to do that on a night to night basis. And James Harden had a different perspective coming into the league because he was a bench player at Oklahoma City when he was drafted, and you had to play behind Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, even Serge Ibaka. They had an elite team in OKC. I know they just won the NBA championship or the NBA finals this recent past season, but that OKC team with Westbrook and Durant was a special team. But James Harden hadn't even hit his prime yet, but I remember seeing him, his performance off the bench. He was phenomenal. And I knew once he got more shine or got his own team, it would be different. And it was definitely that once he got to Houston, because we only saw glimpses in OKC. But once he got to Houston, we saw the superstar that he actually was. But we always saw the glimpses in OKC, but it wasn't until he got to Houston when we actually I got to witness the greatness that he put up. And from 2017 to 2020, he averaged over 30 points a game. And then one season, he averaged 36 points a game, which is unheard of. I mean, that was very Michael Jordan-esque. I think Michael Jordan averaged 37 points a game, one of his earlier years. So for James Harden to do that was phenomenal. Now, of course, Jordan was probably more phenomenal because he didn't really shoot the three ball, and the three ball wasn't emphasized like that. Now, James Harden was specifically an elite scorer from outside. Uh, he didn't really dabble in the paint as much. Only if you pushed up on him for the three, he can go in and go. He would take that. But most of the time, people were giving him the three, or they were scared of the crossover that he possessed because he was an underrated dribbler as well. Being a ball handler, um, he had so many different tools that you couldn't really defend him. It was very difficult to defend him because if you push up on him for the three, he can go past you. And if you sit back, he can just shoot the three or the mid range. And he's getting to the free throw line, shooting around 90% a clip. So he really didn't have any deficiencies in his game. Now, sometimes the deficiency would be the consistency that he would be able to shoot, being able to get close to that 50%. Sometimes, he got a lot of shots up and he didn't make a lot of shots. But when he was on, he was on. That was for sure. And I remember watching him similar to what I used to watch Kobe because he was box office in the fact that you want to see how many points he would put up because he really didn't have much of a team around him for most of the time in Houston. Even when he had Westbrook, Westbrook is not known as the most elite scorer. He can get you rebounds. He can pass. He was athletic. He can hit a occasional jump shot, but he wasn't consistent like Harden was. I want to say he was around 42, 43% from the field, but nevertheless, James Harden was always carrying that Houston team no matter who they had, whether it's Dwight Howard or they had Chris Paul or they had Westbrook. James Harden was the main attraction. And every night, that's the reason why you watch Houston to see what James Harden would do. Because regardless of the team's game plan of trying to either stop everyone around him or double team or triple team him, he was going to get his points some way or fashion, whether it be from the free throw line or from the jumpers or whatever. So it was always amazing to see James Harden play in that regard. Um, and a lot of people blame him for the playoff performances, but I never blamed him for those really. He does have some culpability, but they never had a team around him. So in the playoffs, when they double teamed and triple teamed him, he was already worn down from the season from averaging 37 points just to get them in the playoffs anyway. So by the time he got to the playoffs, when those double teams came, he wasn't able to defeat him like he was because he was just, exhausted at that point. So I don't place all the blame on him. Some of that blame has to go to coaching and also to the front office because they didn't give him the adequate help. You paired him with a Chris Paul, who's not really a scorer. He's a pass first point guard. They never got him another like shooting guard, like well, they had Carmelo Anthony, I want to say for a little bit, but other than that, but that he was at the end of his ropes back then. So they never gave him, any kind of elite scoring, and they could have even not even elite, just sufficient scoring that he could have had. Other than that one year when they missed the 33 pointers in a row. Now everyone has to take the blame for that one because that was just ridiculous performance to see somebody put up 30 shots and miss all those. Um, you have to at least try to get to the basket at some point. But nevertheless, I never blamed him essentially just for only the playoff losses because they never put a great team around him and it all just finally came into a head when teams got the home down on the team. Um, and then plus, they I don't know the way the Houston Rockets organization was set up, it really wasn't set up to win back then because they were trying to sell tickets, I believe, and they knew bringing James Harden in would do that. And bringing James Harden in, you have that box office ability for people to come out and see the team every night, opposed to trying to actually build a team. They were just trying to put big names out there and then think about the chemistry of the team. But as far as James Harden's legacy go, I know most people rank him the fourth greatest shooting guard of all time. So you would put MJ, Kobe, D Wade, and then of course Harden. Now some people interchange Harden with Iverson, um, but for me, I think I have to give Harden the nod because he was more durable than Iverson. Because of course Iverson was only like a buck 60 or something, but Harden's longevity and his ability to evolve from being a top dog to being just a part of a cog in the system. So we know in Houston he was the guy. Um, OKC he wasn't the guy, but he was becoming that. When he went to Houston, he became the guy. And then when he left Houston, going to New Jersey, he became a part of the system and he became considered a pass first point guard and then he went to LA, the Clippers, and do the same thing. So Iverson wasn't able to take a back seat to anyone, and that was like the demise towards the end of his career. Now, Harden realized that he didn't have it anymore, but he still had ability to pass, and he still had ability to still put up some points and still contribute to the team. So he was able to make that transition, and Iverson wasn't. And that's the only reason I give Harden the nod over Iverson in the fourth spot in the best shooting guards of all time. Now, Iverson was elite and proficient, well, not he wasn't efficient as much, but his heart and his will and his drive, similar to Russell Westbrook's of the world or Derrick Rose, they were fearless going against the Giants and going against the bigger competition. But Harden's durability, I think, and his ability to change later in his career to transition separates him from all those other guys because those other guys just simply just wasn't willing to take a back seat to um, back to those roles. Westbrook was, but definitely Iverson didn't. And James Harden might be the best all around shooting guard all time, just because he can pass, shoot, dribble, score, free throws, all of the different things that he can do, opposed to the other shooting guards. Like Jordan was an elite scorer, but he wasn't known as a passer or rebounder as much. But he had mentality. Same thing with Kobe. Kobe wasn't he was known for scoring and his mentality, but as far as passing goes and rebounding goes, you can't really put him in the same bucket as James Harden. Same thing was D Wade. D Wade was a very good defender though, and he was a shot blocker. He leads the shooting guards of all time in most blocks. He can score as well, but he really wasn't known as a rebounder or a passer. But and we know Iverson was just known really for scoring and getting steals, but Harden could do everything except for the defensive end for the most part. He got better defensively as he got older, but he never was known as the better defender as D Wade, MJ, and Kobe. But nevertheless, Harden is I consider him the fourth greatest shooting guard of all time. Of course, he's top 50, top 75 all time, and retires one of the best players ever. But And he's 8 all time in triple doubles too, which most people don't think about. And he's still going. So he still has an ability to climb up that ladder. But of course, Westbrook's still playing, LeBron's still playing, Nikola Jokic is still playing. So he probably won't get too high up that list. He could possibly get in that top 5. But other than that, with his ability and his evolution as a player from the shooting guard role to more of a PG role, separates him from the other guards. But tell me what your thoughts are about James Harden. And until next time, I'll see you next time.